name of this operation, according to the Pentagon, is Epic Fury. The attacks on Iran, known as Operation Epic Fury. Also, we're getting word from the Associated Press that the first strike was launched against the compound of Iran's Supreme Leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. I've been wondering, as have our other correspondents, about the daytime nature of this attack. We had expected, if there were going to be kinetic action, that it would take place at night. But this was a daytime attack. It began around 10 in the morning in Tehran. And apparently the first target was the compound belonging to the Ayatollah. So perhaps they had some information. The Israelis have incredible intelligence about the movements of opposition leaders. And it could be that the Ayatollah was just arriving at his compound then. And maybe that's why they decided decided on a daytime strike. And that was perhaps the first of the strikes.
Come on in.
Go ahead.
John, based on conversations that I've had with officials over recent weeks, the targets and the timing of these strikes, this has been planned for some time. And I think when you're talking about this many pieces that have to be coordinated, both between two countries as well as the naval, the air assets involved, and this is like conducting an orchestra. So I don't know that there would be a trigger such as an individual, but I do believe that they targeted Ayatollah Khamenei's compound, obviously for a reason. Symbolically, that is where you would strike if you wanted to decapitate the regime. And I think it's significant that it was during the day, because remember, during Ramadan, there would be fasting, people might be at home. And so if you were expecting the Ayatollah to be in his residence, Ramadan would be a pretty good time to expect that he would be home fasting. But it's also significant when you look at the strikes against the parliament, against the National Security Council, against IRGC targets, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The president was very clear that he had a message for the Iranian security forces. And he said that if you lay down your weapons, you will receive total immunity. Otherwise, he promised them certain death.
And that was what's promised by the president of the U.S. in his speech. Let's get to some local news out there in the Middle East.
United States and another parties that they are working with the United States. And that's what exactly caused this war right now. And truly, we are very happy. The people of Iran are really happy, because this regime is one of the most dangerous regimes the world ever seen. And they are truly happy because of this attack. Right now, they are being attacked in many, many cities, especially Tehran, and many important people from this regime
and reports
has
that
died.
The Ayatollah Khamenei, what they call the Supreme Leader, has been killed in a targeted airstrike.
Short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent
years. Hit that like button, guys. Thank
you. As well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal. Something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all.
Wow, just crazy world we're living in. Let's get the breaking news about the report about the Ayatollah.
Okay. We are getting word from Israel Channel 12, who are now reporting that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead.
Oh, wow.
That the Iranian Supreme Leader has been killed in the airstrikes launched by the United States and Israel today. A determined effort by President Donald Trump to topple the Iranian regime. And if true, the reports coming to us now from Israeli Channel 12 that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead, then they have indeed toppled the very head of that regime. And the consequences and ramifications of that can only be guessed at, because we have also been reporting just in the last few minutes that the Iranian Defense Minister, Amir Nasirazdeh, and also the Iranian, I should say, commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Commander Mohammed Pakpour, is also dead. These two top officials, one a military official, the other a civilian official in charge, of course, of the military, the Iranian Defense Minister, and the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, according to...
We're going to jump over to Tuesday right now.
It's only been 2 minutes and we already have over 50,000 people watching us. Thank you very much. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We continue to be your go-to source for all geopolitical news from around the world. Now, the IRGC have gone absolutely insane. They are now targeting not just Israel, not just the US bases, but civilian areas in Arab countries, including the UAE, Bahrain, Jordan.
You hear some of the horns honking in the streets.
Reuters, quoting 3 Iranian sources, have been killed. Add to that these very significant reports now coming from Israeli Channel 12 television, reporting that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the Supreme Leader of Iran, has been killed in those strikes.
That is incredible breaking news that Mark White is bringing you there. I mean, he's 86 years old. He's been the real figurehead for the regime in Iran, and some of the atrocities they have committed against their own people over the last couple of months. The initial reports were that we didn't know where he was. He had maybe been smuggled out of the country. But do we know any more? Was he killed? Was he still in Iran, or we don't know?
Those reports, we don't have details as yet, but certainly when I was reporting first thing this morning on the strikes, we got sort of message from the Fars news agency in Iran, obviously the state-run news agency there, very quickly suggesting that the Ayatollah had been put on a plane out of Tehran, the Iranian capital. Effectively, they were suggesting to us, out of harm's way and away from any attempt by the United States or the Israelis to take him out, because we had confirmation from multiple sources during the morning that, as well as strikes that were targeting military targets and also targeting ministry buildings belonging to the regime in the likes of central Tehran, what you were also seeing were decapitation strikes aimed at the figureheads of the Iranian regime. And the very top of that pile is the Ayatollah. And as I say, Channel 12 in Israel reporting that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed.
Okay, Mark White, for now, thank you very much. That's live breaking news for you. So let's talk to former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Mr. Bennett, thank you so much for joining us. Can we just have your reaction to that breaking news, please, that according to Israel Channel 12, the Ayatollah has been killed by an Israeli strike now? Can I have your reaction, please?
Well, it's not yet been confirmed, but this guy is the tip of the head of the octopus of terror that's been running the terror operations in Iran, in the region, the Middle East, and the whole world. This guy's hands, Khamenei's hands, are soaked in blood of citizens and civilians from all across the world, from the United States, from Europe, from Israel. Tens of thousands of his own people that he's been butchering throughout the years, especially over the past few weeks. This guy is the epicenter of global terror, the head of the octopus of terror, and hopefully he's dead.
And we're getting the report.
What does that mean for what happens next, though? I mean, does his death, if it is confirmed, create a vacuum that could be filled by something or someone worse?
Well, we hope that the Iranian people will seize this opportunity. President Trump and the state of Israel now have created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the amazing, wonderful, and courageous people of Iran that seek freedom. They're fed up with being repressed for the past 47 years by a tyrannical, genocidal regime. But now the ball is in their hands. We cannot do it from outside. They have to make the decision. Do they take to the streets and free themselves from the yoke of this dictator?
Mr. Bennett, with the IRG, as we know, are very heavily armed. I mean, if someone does step in to take over leadership, they've got the arms. The ordinary Iranian people are, most of them, just armed with their fists. Would Israel, do you think, be willing to go in, put boots on the ground to help them get democracy back into their country?
No one's talking about boots on the ground. What we are doing is decapitating the leadership of the IRGC, of the tyrannical police, Basij, of all the elements in this horrible terrorist regime that have been killing their own people. And we're giving the air support to do that. I think that the message of President Trump has been very clear. Any IRGC person who lays down his weapons will be safe. Anyone who continues fighting, his head is next. So at the end of the day, it's up to the Iranian people, and we're praying for them, and we're working hard from above to give that support.
How much more support would Israel, do you think, be willing to give, though? Keep coming back to that point. The IRGC are very, very heavily armed. The ordinary people of Iran have nothing but their fists.
A lot of actions have been taken, covert actions to allow Iranian people to act, to fight back. As I said, we're not letting up. Our goal from Israel's perspective and from the world's perspective is to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon and reconstituting their ballistic missile program, which is a huge threat to the region, as you can.
Now let's get some more live from Tuzi over here.
We now have confirmation, some breaking news for you guys. The Israeli Air Force have now confirmed that they have successfully destroyed the IRGC's ballistic missile launchers. So the actual launch platforms are getting destroyed left, right, and center. And as I've been saying for the past few days, this is the first thing. Well, the first thing you do is targeted assassinations, and the attack started around lunchtime during the day in Iran by targeting government meetings and regime gatherings. Then you go towards the missile launchers, hit them first, paralyze their ability, and then you go for the warehouses and storages, obviously, that they have for their missiles. As we said, according to the Israelis, Ali Khamenei, the Supreme Leader, is reportedly being killed in the instant, immediate attacks that we had in the first few minutes. Now, we also haven't heard from the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, or any of the rest of the people, apart from Arakchi, the foreign minister. He's the only one who we have actually seen. He's been on TV. We haven't heard from anybody else. So it seems like the Israelis, the reports coming from the Israeli Defense Forces seem to be accurate, that they may have all been in the same meeting in Khamenei's compound, and they probably were not expecting an attack during the day. Usually it happens around, well, post-midnight. This was a surprise daylight attack. Guys, now, the United States have also struck an industrial complex in Tabriz in the northwest of Iran. This was, of course, the base for the ballistic missiles. Oh. Now we also do have an image that's been released, satellite images from the compound of Ali Khamenei before and after. Before is the bottom one, and after is the top one. It's been a little bit hammered, unlike Khamenei, because, you know, he might be a cutlet, as the Iranians would say. Let's quickly go to Israel. Of course, the civilians across the country are now in shelters. They are waiting for things to calm down. But inside the shelters, they're getting a lot of news updates about the IRGC leadership getting wiped out. And they are keeping up their morale by celebrating and dancing.
Cook, guys. It's all right.
Now, some of the early confirmations that we already have include the elimination, which has also been confirmed by the regime, of the Islamic Republic's military commander-in-chief, the head of military, and also the defense minister, Amir Nasirzadeh. Both of them have now been sent to the afterlife to meet their 72 virgin goats. Now, of course, the Islamic Republic had a bit of a meltdown in reaction, and we were sort of expecting them to hit Israel anyway. We were expecting them to hit the US bases, but they have also decided to target civilian areas, including in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Jordan. This is the moment they decided to hit the international airport, civilian airport, in
breaking
Kuwait.
News, guys. Breaking news. Hit that like button for me. Wow.
Hey. حجي يعطيك العافيه بس واحد هني ما في حريق بس دخان ها درون شفتها شايفها.
It was a suicide drone. It was a Shahid drone.
انا شفتها بالساحه. انا كنت انا بسرداب يمي ضربت.
Wow.
في اصابات في احد صاب شيء. لا
Come in, guys. Breaking news.
Hello.
Insane. Now, we don't know about the number of casualties yet in Kuwait, but we will get some more information for you guys shortly. Saudi Arabia, in reaction, have now confirmed that they are also joining the coalition forces against the Islamic Republic. They will be helping to defend against the IRGC missiles. The Minister of Foreign Affairs in Riyadh says the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia expresses its rejection and condemnation in the strongest terms of the blatant and cowardly Iranian attacks that targeted the Riyadh region and the eastern province, which were successfully intercepted. These attacks cannot be justified under any pretext or in any way whatsoever. And they came despite the Iranian authorities' knowledge that the kingdom had affirmed it would not allow its airspace or territory to be used to target Iran. In light of its unjustified aggression, the kingdom affirms that it will take all necessary measures to defend its security and safeguard its territory, its citizens, and its residents, including the option of responding to the aggression. Following this statement, we got the confirmation that Saudi Arabia are now involved, the military, to help the Americans and the Israelis, and of course the rest of the Persian Gulf Arab countries. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland has now also joined the coalition forces to help with the defensive strategy, as we expected. But in terms of what the Islamic Republic are doing, they are massively hammering Dubai and Abu Dhabi, which is also completely chaotic in terms of the reaction that they are showing. Let's quickly go to the moment the Islamic Republic missile started to hit Dubai.
Oh shit! Whoa!
We have more footage also from Dubai coming out now.
We've been bombed. We've been bombed. Bombed in the street. In the street.
Oh my God!
Oh no!
Oh no!
They did.
Okay, so let's just quickly show you the situation on the ground. We do have our live feed from the region. Then we can quickly go to Tel Aviv. Just quick heads up, there will be sirens if you're watching from Israel. Obviously, you are already hearing the sirens anyway. But this is live right now, a live camera from Tel Aviv. We also do have the rest of the region, which we'll get to. We are getting more updates about the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, it's now been officially closed by the IRGC, which is a bit of an FAFO decision. While we do that, there's a few things to mention. So the Israeli Air Force are now actively hunting and destroying more missile launchers inside Iran, which was supposed to be, as I said, the next phase of the wave of the attacks. And we can also confirm that 3 of Ahmadinejad's bodyguards have been killed earlier today in the first wave of strikes. Ahmadinejad, of course, was the former president of the Islamic Republic. We'll keep you guys posted on that as more developments come in. There is a lot of reaction in the live chat. Somebody says, this is very exciting. I was telling my lady, and for us, the clapping has ever felt this so good. There's a lot more updates coming in. Your ability to see through the fog of war has helped us all stay sane during the build-up. You have earned lifelong fans. Can't wait to see your coverage inside Iran. The celebration will be monumental when Reza Pahlavi returns. Okay, and yeah, I did tell people to basically just stay patient. Help is on the way, and don't listen to the weirdos online. A relative of mine is working in Iraq at the moment for a military intelligence firm. We are trying to identify a route to gather live feeds from Iran. How can we converse to discuss and verify? Feel free to get in touch with our team at team@2c.tv. We can help you with all that. Let's just quickly go to Tehran. Some of the situation on the ground, on the streets of Iran. Shariati, which is in the center of the capital.
Yeah, unless there are threats of violence, mods, please just let it fly.
It's now basically empty, but people have long queues at the petrol stations. They are stocking up, of course. Let's just quickly go and see what's going on there and then come back. You can see all the cars on the other side. These guys, there we go. That's the queue for the petrol.
Wow. That's the line for gas.
Now.
Oh, shit.
People in Iran have also continued their celebrations on the streets, despite the presence of the IRGC military. They don't really care anymore. Let's go and see what's going on. Again, hear the horns. We have 92,000 people watching live on TV right now. It is destroying the viewership of the mainstream media. Thank you, guys. They've just detected another missile launcher in Iran. The IDF have now destroyed another one.
Argue all you want. Just don't threaten anyone or be disrespectful in the chat. That's all. That's the only rules here. No threats and do not target other chatters.
It's very important. I don't think they care right now.
That's all. Very simple.
You might be able to see smoke. There's a smoke at the end. The camera goes up. Shut it briefly. Okay, now, as I said, based on popular demand for the past few weeks, months probably actually, you guys said that we should do a. I once said, I think I was drunk. I said once the regime is falling, we'll do a 75% off discount code, a limited offer if you want to join 2CTV Plus. Annual membership 75% off right now if you use the coupon code Iran75. Just go to 2c.tv and you will get full access to our streaming platform. It's the best way to support the team, but also get something out of it because we don't do charity. We believe in the market economy. All right, so quickly go to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, made the announcement earlier today. And of course, Britain, as usual, would say, oh, it's best if we don't fight. Fighting is naughty. But at the same time, the RAF fighter jets are now helping the coalition forces to defend against the IRGC.
Earlier this morning, the United States and Israel struck targets in Iran. Iran has since launched indiscriminate strikes across the region. I know the British people and community will be deeply concerned about what this means for security and stability and for the fate of innocent people across the region, which for so many of us includes friends and family members. So whilst the situation is evolving very quickly, I want to set out our response. The United Kingdom played no role in these strikes, but we have long been clear. The regime in Iran is utterly abhorrent. They have murdered thousands of their own people, brutally crushed dissent, and sought to destabilize the region. Even in the United Kingdom, the Iranian regime poses a direct threat to dissidents and to the Jewish community. Over the last year alone, they have backed more than 20 potentially lethal attacks on UK soil. So it is clear they must never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. That remains the primary aim of the United Kingdom and our allies, including the US. I condemn Iran's attacks today on partners across the region.
Like and subscribe, guys. Hit that
Many
like
of
button.
which
Help me out.
Are not parties to
Appreciate
this
it.
conflict.
Well, that's true.
We extend our support and solidarity to them as part of our commitments to the security of our allies in the Middle East. We have a range of defensive capabilities in the region, which we've recently strengthened. Our forces are active, and British planes are in the sky today as part of coordinated regional defensive operations to protect our people, our interests, and our allies, as Britain has done before, in line with international law. We've stepped up protections for British bases and personnel to their highest level. We are also reaching out to UK nationals in the region and doing everything we can to support them. I've been speaking with leaders today from the E3 and across the region. It is vital that we prevent further escalation and return to a diplomatic process. We want to see peace and security and the protection of civilian life. Iran can end this now. They should refrain from further strikes, give up their weapons programs, and cease the appalling violence and repression against the Iranian people, who deserve the right to determine their own future in line with our long-standing position. This is the route to de-escalation and back to the negotiating table. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. We also have confirmation now that multiple senior officials from Iran's Ministry of Intelligence have now been eliminated by the Israeli Defense Forces. So that is also major. We have a comment from Daniel from Israel.
Confirmed.
Saying, I'm starting to think that Israel may have had something to do with this. I also have heard that Israel is secretly controlled by Jews. Huge if true, by the way. All right, so let's quickly go back. There is a lot coming in as we speak. Unfortunately, the IRGC, while the Israelis and the Americans are doing targeted attacks on the regime in Iran, the IRGC are hitting civilian areas, as I showed you in Dubai, in Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi, and also in Israel. While there are a lot of shelters in place, some people just happen to be out, which doesn't help. In the central parts of Israel, one shrapnel from the missiles, ballistic missiles, hit the ground, and a 17-year-old boy in Israel has now been injured. Let's go.
No. Uh-oh. Oh, shit.
Vile.
Oh, no.
Now, let's quickly go to our live feeds because we are getting some more updates about the situation with the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, okay. So, if we could see what's going on in Doha, I think... yeah, so we got the live feed from Doha. Do we also have Haifa? We do have Haifa. Let's just stay with the... Let's go with Jerusalem. Okay. All right, let's quickly go to Haifa. Apparently not. Okay.
Yeah, we have all kinds of different opinions here. I don't take it personally. So, I may not agree with what's said in the chat, but, all opinions here are welcome. Just remain respectful and don't put any threats in the chat. That's all. It's pretty easy.
All right. Let's stay with Qatar for a second. I think, yeah, the United States are now advising all vessels to stay away from Strait of Hormuz. We just got another breaking news. This one is absolutely insane. Air sirens are now being heard in Oman.
Oh, no.
Well, that's slightly unexpected. The Omanis have been very, very friendly towards the IRGC. Literally minutes before the start of this war, the Omani foreign minister was still going around saying the negotiations are going really well. The Islamic Republic are getting ready to accept a deal. Our friends and brothers in Tehran, and now it seems like Oman is getting hit by their friends in Tehran. Whoopsie. Okay, so we'll get more updates about that situation with a statement from Canada. Now, as I've been saying, the Canadian government, despite the existence of Mark Carney, have actually been quite impressive over the last few weeks. Again, big credit to President Trump for putting pressure on Canadians. For the record, the Canadian government, very different to the Canadian people. But Canada have officially released a statement because Canada were impressive because they were the first country, apart from the US, to say we will not deal with Iran unless there is a regime change. And they did that in the middle of the uprising, before the war even started. So well done, Canada. But this is a statement. The Canadian government is closely following Iran-related hostilities throughout the Middle East. I think we also have the actual statement we can put on for you guys. Here we go. And urges all Canadians in Iran to shelter in place. Canadians in the wider region should follow local advice and take all necessary precautions. Canada's position remains clear. The Islamic Republic of Iran is the principal source of instability and terror throughout the Middle East and has one of the world's worst human rights records and must never be allowed to obtain or develop nuclear weapons. Canada and our international partners have consistently called upon the Iranian regime to end its nuclear program, including at the G7 summit last year, with the UN's reimposition of sanctions in September. This activities nor ended its support for regional terrorist proxy groups. Canada stands with the Iranian people in their long and courageous struggle against Iran's oppressive regime. Canada has listed the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist entity and has sanctioned 256 Iranian entities and 222 individuals in response to the regime's repression and its violence both against its own people and persistently beyond its borders. Canada reaffirms Israel's right to defend itself and to ensure the security of its people. Canada supports the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace and security. The Canadian government urges the protection of all civilians in this conflict. We will take all possible measures to protect our nationals and Canadian diplomatic missions throughout the region. Okay, so there is also some issue happening again in Tel Aviv, and Erdogan has spoken. Well, that's not surprising. Tel Aviv, I think we just had sirens. I think it's just stopped now. Sirens were going off again across Tel Aviv. This is a live feed. The Turkish president, crazy Erdogan, said we strongly condemn this morning's attacks. Very vague statement, which not only violated Iran's sovereignty but also targeted the peace and well-being of the friendly and brotherly Iranian people. He means the regime, by the way. At the same time, we find Iran's missile and drone attacks against our brotherly countries in the Gulf.
We're going to take a look at some other news here and get back to Tuesday in a minute.
Explosions rocked multiple cities across Iran, including its capital, Tehran. Videos from Tehran show smoke. You see it here billowing over the city. And now we're getting reports of explosions in Gulf Arab countries hosting U.S. military bases. Live look now at Abu Dhabi, where explosions were reported, in addition to Bahrain and Qatar. A video now of an explosion in Bahrain. Officials say a missile hit the service center of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet in the country. These strikes happen barely a day after the latest round of indirect nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. And sources tell CNN the U.S. military is planning for these attacks to last for days. Israel said the same, and both President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are now calling for regime change.
To the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Yeah, Iran media report already launched dozens of ballistic missiles at Israel. And Qatari officials say that Qatar already intercepted 2 Iranian missiles, indicating Iran is carrying out that plan to retaliate. And our team is up and covering this breaking story from around the world. We'll get to Zach Cohen and Elena Treen in just a moment, but I want to start with CNN's Jeremy Diamond first. He's in Tel Aviv. Jeremy, have any of the Iron Dome intercepted any of those missiles? Is there a timing on when those might arrive?
Well, we certainly know that Iran has already fired a barrage of ballistic missiles at Israel. We had sirens going off not only here in Tel Aviv, but also in Jerusalem, in northern Israel, in southern Israel, pretty much Israelis everywhere across the country, millions heading to bomb shelters as those ballistic missiles came in. It does appear that there were several intercepts. We have not yet gotten reports of any actual impacts as a result of those ballistic missiles. But all of this kicked off this morning around 8:15 a.m. local time. Israelis were woken to the sound of sirens, not announcing incoming missiles, but rather alerting Israelis to this new state of emergency that is in place as Israel announced that it had struck targets in Iran. We then quickly learned that it was not just Israel, but that these are joint strikes carried out by the United States and the Israeli militaries, targeting a range of targets inside of Iran. I'm told that there were dozens of targets that were struck by both militaries. We have been watching, of course, for weeks now as the United States has been carrying out this enormous military buildup in the region, but simultaneously a diplomatic track was taking place. But this morning, that diplomatic track was completely cast aside in favor of this military action by the United States and Israel. We heard from President Trump making clear that this is not just about going after Iran's ballistic missile and nuclear programs, but setting the conditions for regime change. And we have heard similar comments as well from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We know now that Israel is at a very heightened state of awareness. Most Israelis are either in their bomb shelters or very close by, awaiting the ramifications of this, as we are already watching Iran launch missiles not only here, but at other sites across the Middle East. Victor?
Jeremy Diamond for us there in Tel Aviv. We will get back to you in just a few moments. President Trump is monitoring the strikes from his Mar-a-Lago resort, and he calls on Iranians to stand up to their government and warns the fight could put American lives in danger. He also says the U.S. has done everything it can to keep American troops safe in the region. Earlier, President Trump explained the mission behind the operation.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
All right, let's bring in CNN's Elena Treen. She's reporting from Palm Beach, Florida. Elena, the president said on Friday that he was not happy with where the talks were.
Do me a favor, guys. Put a 1 in the chat if you support America. If you do support America in this conflict. Put a 2 in the chat if you support the Islamic terrorists. Okay.
With Iran, and now we're seeing the consequences of that.
Absolutely, and I think you're right to point out that the context of all of this is incredibly important. We had been hearing of Victor in recent days, really in the lead up until these strikes this morning, the president saying that he wanted diplomacy. He was hoping a deal could be reached. And from all the conversations I had with people at the White House, that was sincere. But of course, at the same time, you saw the Trump administration and the president directly order the most massive military buildup in the region since essentially the 2003 war with Iraq. And so that leverage was there. And I think a lot of people were waiting to see whether the president would move on that. And of course, he did. I also found it very remarkable just to see the president in that video statement giving it and releasing it on social media, having that be the way that he delivered it. But look, there's a couple things I took away, Victor, from those remarks from the president. One is that he said that this is going to be a massive and ongoing operations. And that comes as sources are telling our colleague Zach Cohen and I that the United States is planning for there to be several attacks or several days of attacks. This is going to be a long operation and could ultimately be, the largest military operation the president has ever overseen.
Yeah, this is insane. We're going to go back here. We see some more footage coming in. Whoa. Oh, shit. Oh. Oh.
That's huge.
Unbelievable. Oh.
There's another clip that's just come out from the same place, the aftermath, I think.
It's fine.
Yep. Let's go.
Wow. Let it cook. Unbelievable.
We now have almost 110.
I meant let the chat cook, not the missile strike, just to confirm.
115,000 people watching 2CTV live. Thank you so much for all the support. There is more developments as we speak. I think we can go to Bahrain. There's a bit of a situation, emergency, as a civilian residential area has now been hit by the IRGC. Absolutely disgusting behavior, by the way. One apartment block has been partially destroyed. That's the IRGC, by the way, hitting. That is not a military base. That has nothing to do with anybody. Those are normal people living there. Disgusting. Kuwaitis are saying that 14 people have been injured in the airport attack. So this is now obviously a regional war, as expected. But I wasn't really expecting the IRGC to be stupid enough to actually start hitting civilian areas. Now you're going to get all these Persian Gulf Arab countries launching their militaries. They have no other option. They have to retaliate. So they're going to join the coalition forces alongside Saudi Arabia, Israel, the US, to basically... They've seen the F around situation. Now they have to show the find out phase of this to the Tehran regime. Okay, so I think we can also go quickly to Tehran Sar. We are now getting more fresh videos for you guys, so bear with me as we prepare this. I'm also trying my best to multitask as our team, the 2CTV team, give me more information. I don't know exactly what's going on. Don't ask me what's happening right now. Let's quickly go to Tehran Sar, as I think there was a bit of a situation with the Americans hitting the IRGC sites. And also we have the west of Tehran again, also getting hit by the Israelis. Both of these clips are coming in shortly.
That's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. That's the IRGC. It's the elite branch of the Iranian armed forces.
Next 10 seconds. It's not empty promises, by the way. I'm trying my best. All right, let's quickly go to Tehran Sar in the capital. There's a bit of smoke at the end.
Oh, shit.
Just got an email from one of you guys watching. Hang on, I need to address something after this. Somebody sent us an email. Sam, if you're watching this, Oh, there's another smoke there. Sam just emailed saying, I'm trying to join 2City Plus on the app and I can't use the discount code. What did I just tell you guys? Can you guys tell Sam in the live chat where he's going wrong with this? I said this multiple times. Do not use the discount code on the app. It's not going to work. The discount code on the website, I literally have the URL on the website. You see on the screen. It's on the right-hand side. www, it's like 1999, 2c.tv. Go on the website. Use the coupon code Iran75 and it only works for annual memberships, not monthly. Annual memberships, 75% off, okay? It's limited offer, Iran75. New members, by the way, not renewals. And otherwise we'll go bankrupt. It's also limited because we're literally losing money to get you guys on the platform. All right, so let's quickly go back to our live feed. More developments. Do we have Tel Aviv again? Yeah, we do. I think we do. Yeah, we do. All right. Stay with Tel Aviv, the skies. We also did have the border with Iran and Iraq. Do we still have that situation? No, we don't. Okay. We'll bring that back. I'm going to double check the rest of the information coming in. Which live cameras do we still have?
All right, while Susie gets that together, we're going over to some more breaking news.
He has the latest. Will, what more can you tell us?
I don't think they're going to come. Well, Nana, good afternoon. Yeah, we are outside the Iranian embassy. The march of a few thousand people who set off from Downing Street this afternoon are just beginning to arrive here as the roads are being closed. Many Metropolitan Police officers keeping everybody safe here, but they're joining crowds of people who have been here, well, more or less from the beginning of today, really, calling for the fall and topple of the Iranian regime. Lots and lots of chanting going on, as you might be able to hear it now, as you can take a look at these live pictures of the scene here. And we can speak now to one of the protesters here, Ashkan Nasri. Ashkan, thanks for joining us on GB News. What have been your thoughts about what we've seen so far today? Let's start with the strikes from Israel and the US in Iran. What have you made of that?
Well, we have been calling for a foreign intervention in Iran to help us Iranians to topple this regime. The world has witnessed for 47 years the stuff that the regime has done. Just recently, as we all know, they carried out a massacre in the darkness of night. They killed so many people. BBC Persian accounted like there are 200 identified under 16 protesters have been killed because the regime was randomly shooting at people. So we are very thankful. If you can see the population here, like the crowds in here, they are all in support of these military strikes in Iran by Israel and the USA.
And Ashkan, you were telling me about what your family members who are still in Iran have been telling you over the last few weeks about what they're living through. Talk to me about how they're getting on. Are you worried about their safety now?
Of course. If you live in Iran, or if you're an Iranian, or if you know some Iranians, you will understand that for 47 years we have been living under a constant anxiety, right? So we don't know that Iran one day is facing sanctions, the next day they're going to war. So my family, I spoke to my cousin 3-4 weeks ago. He was terrified. He had seen a lot of dead bodies dropping while he was running away from this military-grade guns that the government used to oppress the people, as well as my brother. A few days ago I managed to speak to him, but he was in Dubai, right? Like I said, oh, your lines are very clear. He said, yeah, because I'm in Dubai. He has lost 4 of his friends. That's a lot of friends to lose. So their account is very accurate with the number of the people in Iran that had been killed. We were seeking for a better future and for a democratic Iran.
And what impact do you think these strikes will have on the ability of the Iranian people to topple the regime?
So we are hoping this regime, because they are armed to teeth, right? And then the civilians don't have military-grade weapons to fight back. So we are hoping this Iranian regime's military position will weaken. And from within Iran, the people will be managed to take over power and then topple the government. So that's the ultimate Iranian people's like kind of wish dream. And we are hoping these military operations will help us to achieve that.
And Ashkan, I've been hearing from many Iranian people protesting today, disappointed with the British government's response, that they haven't helped with the strikes that took place in Iran this morning. As we're seeing now, thousands of protesters arrive outside the embassy. What kind of a message do you think this presence sends not only to the Iranian embassy but also to the British government?
I think, listen, the Iranian diaspora are very thankful to the British people that they've hosted us, right? They've left us they've helped us to make Britain as our homes, and we are very grateful to the British people. But we are obviously expect the British government, with the great history they have, spreading democracy, standing against oppression and stuff, to help us during this critical moment. But unfortunately, for some strange reason, that the Labour government so far have decided not to take a side with their closest allies, which is European countries, Israel and the USA. And somehow they seem they are appeasing this oppression, the Islamic government. If you see the police presence around the embassy, it just speaks volume. How much they are determined to kind of protect this regime that kills children, and also is very clearly against the democratic nations as well as the Western civilizations, the Iranian regime. So overall, we are disappointed with the British government's position stand currently.
And Ashkan, we've heard from the Prime Minister this afternoon, who is saying he's condemning, the government here is condemning the Iranian response, their retaliation to the US and Israeli strikes. Do you think that condemnation is strong enough from our government to the Iranian regime?
I don't think issuing like a political statement will deter Iranian government. Right? These are ideological people, so we have to be very precise and very take a strong stand against this aggression. The Prime Minister should have first condemned the massacre of Iranian protesters who were calling for democracy. And if you can see the crowd as well, you don't see any religious child.
Look at the size of this dude.
Here, they're all calling for freedom under the leadership of the Reza Shah, the leader of the opposition team. So I don't think it will go. It's strong enough releasing a statement. We need an action, a practical action that can help us to topple this government and then bring peace to the Middle East once and forever, hopefully.
Well, yeah, and the Prime Minister did say that British planes are in the sky. But in terms of what we're seeing in the Middle East, wider conflict spreading. We've seen Iranian missiles land in Dubai, Kuwait, Qatar, other countries in the Middle East as well. Is that a concern? You think that could escalate further?
I doubt. I don't think it escalate. It will not withdraw the other countries into war, into conflict with the Iranian regime, because the USA and Israel are in control of this operation, and I doubt it's going to be like escalatory, or it's going to make Middle East in the long term kind of destabilize the Middle East. I don't think. I'm not saying that is happening. Obviously, it's a concern for us Iranians, because we want to live with our neighbors in peace. So with these attacks, hopefully we are not creating enemies anymore.
Of course. Wonderful. Ashkan, thank you very much for talking to us on GB News. A message loud and clear from outside the Iranian embassy here, as thousands of protesters gathering, calling for the Iranian regime to topple.
Wow. Unbelievable. Whew. So here we go, guys.
Those areas, immediately, they are going to be dropping a lot of bombs. Again, God bless the IDF for giving heads up in advance. They always do this, unlike, obviously, normal military forces. They tend not to do that. So you can see that's the Islamic Azad University of Esfahan. That's you got one of the branches on the left, and you got the famous cemetery on the right-hand side. And those areas, if you are in that red area in Esfahan, you need to leave immediately. Of course, we do have people watching right now live from Iran. For those who have access to Starlink, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to obviously inform everybody else, especially if you know people in Esfahan, to leave. And the rest of it is common sense. If you do live near any IRGC base or whatever, then you better, of course, evacuate. It's not the best idea to stay around.
Exactly.
Okay. Let me just double check. Let's go back to our live feed in Tel Aviv. Also, just in case, let's see what's going on in Doha.
We're going to be jumping to other coverage as Tuzi brings in other breaking news. Here we go.
There is reporting that the Iranian foreign minister has said that the Ayatollah is alive as far as he knows. And we are learning more about the lead up to this attack on Iran, which is being called Operation Epic Fury. According to 2 diplomats in the region, the White House did not brief regional allies on details of strikes in advance of the attack. Let's go now to CBS News reporter Haley Ott in London, who's been speaking with people in the region about their concerns. Haley, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so I've been speaking to people across the Middle East who woke up this morning to explosions in their countries. We've heard, obviously, that U.S. bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE, Qatar have been targeted. Those attacks will affect people working on those bases, but also people just living in those areas. And what's been interesting is that a number of people have told me that this actually hasn't come as much of a surprise as you might expect. As they've been seeing reports of U.S. military assets traveling to the region, they've been preparing for a possible escalation, for a possible conflict between Iran and potentially some strikes on Israel back and forth. I spoke to one woman who said that she had been stocking up on water, on gasoline for her car, that she was nervous and uncomfortable, obviously, because this is violence and it's scary, but that it wasn't shocking to her. Another person told me that while the strikes that took place over the summer in Qatar were really scary and unexpected, these felt, while very upsetting and distressing, not like as much of a surprise, and that he'd had time to prep, both emotionally and also in terms of just making sure he had enough at home in case things escalate.
And Haley, what are we hearing, from our allies in the region that host American bases? I mean, on the one hand, there are allies that are allowing us in, but they also have taken on this risk that now they are being attacked by Iran in this way in terms of the U.S. bases that are there. Are we hearing condemnation from our allies? What are we hearing?
Yes, we're hearing condemnation of these attacks sort of across the board. Interestingly, there was a diplomatic process going on while this was happening. So in addition to conflict and potential de-escalation and sort of getting worse and more destabilization in the region, this has also undermined a diplomatic process. And that's really been what I've heard from European diplomats, and also what we've seen some statements from European leaders this morning. They condemn the violence. Many have spoken out against Iran, the Iranian regime, the suppression of its population, its nuclear program. But a number of European leaders have urged a return to diplomacy, de-escalation, and that these strikes don't continue to get potentially worse and worse. This is a dangerous moment. One interesting thing is that here in Europe, at least, you might have expected, because of tensions between European countries and the United States, a more sort of robust condemnation of this move this morning. But instead, I've been told that the response we're seeing is muted, because here in Europe, they view this through the prism of Ukraine. And Iran has been an ally to Russia in its war on Ukraine. So that is understood to have played a part in sort of the strength of the response from some European countries this morning.
And Haley, we had a map up just a second ago of the range of the missiles that Iran has. And of course, Europe is a possibility. I mean, are you hearing concerns for Americans, of Europeans, of what might happen if this does become a large scale conflict?
I think the fear, and certainly what I've been hearing, is that this is, from Iran's perspective, from the regime's perspective, a fight for its survival. And when a regime is fighting for its survival, it it can really take extreme action. So in speaking to officials here and speaking to experts, they say that this, while in the short term it may seem like the United States has come in and potentially, and Israel potentially taking care of some of Iran's ballistic missiles that it was building up, potentially made a dent in some part of its nuclear capabilities. In the long term, this, they believe, will make the world less safe because the Iranian regime may resort to more drastic action to defend itself and its survival.
All right, Haley, thank you so much from our London.
All right, we are going to go back over to Tuzi. Let's see.
The United States will be able to take full control of the skies over Iran by tomorrow. And just double checking the latest. Okay, so FBI and counterintelligence teams and counterterrorism in the United States are now on high alert nationwide across the United States after the strikes on the IRGC. Obviously, they expect potential sleeper cells attacks or rogue terror attacks across the American soil. Yeah, well, these guys know what they're doing anyway, so hopefully they can prevent this.
Yes, folks.
We do have a
the
still
show
image from Bahrain. The high-rise building that I showed you guys earlier, which was attacked by an Islamic Republic drone, suicide drone. This is the aftermath. Hang on. There we go. This is what we're dealing with. That's crazy. Now,
these are residential structures, by the way. These are residential structures.
We also have a footage of the Israelis shooting down missiles, the IRGC missiles over Tel Aviv. I will get that ready for you guys. I think it's only a few seconds. Someone said I just joined and accidentally put the wrong email. How do you accidentally put the wrong email without checking when you sign up? That's impressive. Okay, let's...
He's good.
All right, let's go to Tel Aviv. The moment the Israelis managed to intercept a ballistic missile from Iran.
Oh, here we go.
That's shrapnel's coming down.
Whoa. Oh, shit.
Oh. Okay, so apparently, obviously the Israelis have reported that Khamenei is dead. The IRGC said he's alive. This is 3 hours ago. He was supposed to come out and he didn't come out. And a member of Tehran's city council has now said from Iran that the Supreme Leader, his son and his son-in-law and his daughter-in-law were all killed in the attacks. But the regime say that the Supreme Leader himself is safe. We don't know where he is. What is happening?
Hey, guys, put a 1 in the chat if you think the Ayatollah is dead. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he's alive. Let's hear what you have to say.
So, yeah, I mean, the Israelis are still saying he's dead. It's unlikely that he survived the attack, but the IRGC says he's alive somewhere.
Deborah.
He could have tweeted something that would have helped to know what's going on, but seems like he is slightly busy right now to tweet. I'm trying to see what is happening. We're getting some updates from Haifa in Israel. Can we go to... Yeah, let's go to Haifa quickly. It's not coming up. All right, let's go back to Tel Aviv. Well,
all right, we're going to get back to Tuzi over there. Some more
just
breaking
hours
reports.
ago, the U.S. and Israel launched a military strike, a campaign there. They launched it on Iran, and we know that the target was Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. We are told by the IRGC as of right now that he is alive and well. He has been moved to another location. Again, a lot of questions about exactly how this played out, but we also know from Fox News that we expect that the strikes there are not just going to go on for several hours, but rather for several days. Again, there are a lot of questions about the condition of Ali Khamenei, and President Trump, of course, calling on civilians there to overthrow the government. Of course, we know many Iranians, most Iranians, are against the IRGC and, of course, the Supreme Leader and President. We'll see how everything plays out here as the day progresses. Right now, I do want to bring in Mark Chandler, a great friend of the show here, as we take a live look over Tel Aviv, where sirens have been blaring all throughout the night. Mark, thank you so much for being here with us as always.
You're quite welcome, Josh, and good morning.
Good morning. Well, I just mentioned here the relationship there with almost all Iranian civilians there and the Supreme Leader, the IRGC. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship and how it exists, where it stands?
Well, right now, you know, you're looking at what these strikes represent is going after what we would call decapitation, taking out the Supreme Leader. But when you start to peel that back, you know, he is not the popular leader that he was early on in the revolution. And we saw those protests that began in late December, went throughout January, and actually reinitiated, if you will, this past week with the students. So you've got that uprising, that popular uprising that has been taking place, and probably is a signal of a little bit of weakness, more weakness in this regime you've got. However, the Trump card, no pun intended there, is the fact that you've got the IRGC. You know, they're the ones that are the most loyal
about the family of the Ayatollah. So let's hear some of those.
Live camera anymore. That's not a good idea. And I think there's a situation in the Iraqi Shia sources are now saying that Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of Ali Khamenei, has also been killed. Okay, I mean, everybody's reporting everything, right? But if this is likely, I could guarantee 99.9% that wherever Mujtaba Khamenei was, Ali Khamenei would be as well, because those two are glued together. If Mujtaba is dead, his dad might be dead too. But again, this is just the reports coming in from the sources. But the Islamic Republic, when they tried to debunk, and they said, oh no, everybody's alive, they couldn't actually give us any evidence, any sign of life. So I don't know if it's going to be one of those situations where you're going to get a surprise return on Sunday. Hello, I'm alive. In a very camp way. Hello. But we don't know. We'll wait. The Houthis. Ladies and gentlemen, the leader of the Houthis in Yemen has now released a one-sentence statement saying, "We are on standby for any necessary developments." Hang on. Can I just ask a question from the Houthis? You said before, if Iran is attacked, you're going to get involved, retaliate instantly. The Islamic Republic has been destroyed over the last few hours, and you're just sitting there saying, we're ready. Just let me know what you want from us. We're on standby. It's your time to attack. That you said that, and Khamenei said that. Everybody said that. What are you doing? Sitting around in your caves in Yemen, playing with your fax machines like it's 1985. But yeah, so the Houthis, they're waiting. I don't know who they're waiting for, but they're not doing anything yet. Hezbollah, same thing. They were supposed to attack instantly, but for now they are not around. We'll get back to them in 3 to 5 working days. All right. So do we have? There's a lot of Iranians, by the way, out celebrating also across the world, not just in Iran. The celebrations in Iran were also crazy, brave, but crazy. We have the ballistic missiles being launched right now, a few minutes ago, from the western parts of Iran. I can show this to you guys shortly.
So it seems some more missiles are being launched.
It's going to be a long, long weekend. I can tell.
Yes,
but it's okay. It's our job at 2CTV to keep you guys informed, because we cannot trust the mainstream media, the bunch of weirdos. All right. This is the latest footage from the western parts of the country in Iran, as the ballistic missiles are launched towards God knows who, because they're launching against everybody at this point. Israel and the Arab countries and the Americans. They're going up. So is your dad okay? I still haven't heard from my dad or the family in Iran, but somebody did say that my dad is alive and is safe. So I haven't spoken to him myself, but somebody did. I think, yeah, it's got the worst internet. The internet is down. Unless you have Starlink, it's going to be very difficult to get access from inside Iran. Yeah, Iraq was getting hit as well again. So we can add that to the list. If I am correct, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar. That's basically every single country in the Middle East has now been hit by the IRGC. And not successfully, by the way. There was obviously a couple of shrapnels that fell and a couple of drones that hit residential buildings in Bahrain. But Dubai was hit badly. Most of the hits in Dubai were also the shrapnels coming down. There were a few drones. And Kuwait only had about 14 people who were injured, mildly injured. So that's good news. It could have been much worse. Yeah, I think tomorrow is going to be a tough day, or the next few hours, because the Arab countries have no other option, because they have to defend their people. And their people are going to say, did we just get attacked by the IRGC? What are you going to do? And the kingdoms are going to say, fine, we're going to go in. So they're going to have to send, they have to retaliate somehow. They can't just send out condemnation statements. It's not enough. The Saudi side have also already decided to get involved to help, just like the Brits, only in the defensive way. But Saudi might also do retaliation either the next few hours or the next day. And yeah, President Trump, yeah, just got this. President Trump hasn't posted anything in the last 8 hours. So we don't know if they, he's probably obviously in the situation room. In the middle of all this, the European Union have come out. Ursula von der Leyen, the dictator of the European Union, the unelected dictator, saying that the EU condemns what we describe as Iran's unjustifiable attacks against the United Arab Emirates, so which is correct. But why is it that all these countries are simply condemning the attacks on the UAE when everybody else is also getting attacked? Why? When did UAE become that special?
That's right.
We're literally getting, we have sirens in Oman, we have attacks in Saudi. But to be fair, the attacks on Dubai and Abu Dhabi have been absolutely insane and disgusting. So we do need to call it out. We still don't know where their leader is, Ali Khamenei. He was supposed to be alive, but... All right. There's a video from Bahrain.
And even though they're not in the same class, Baseball Hall of Famer Reggie Jackson went to the same school as Benjamin Netanyahu, Cheltenham High School, outside of Philadelphia.
Bahrain, obviously, is a very...
went to the same school as Reggie Jackson. Netanyahu graduated a few years ahead of him.
Different situation compared to other countries, because other...
Isn't that wild?
Countries in the region. Bahrain has two big categories of people. So you have the anti-IRGC guys, but you also have a huge group of pro-IRGC people in Bahrain. And some of these guys are celebrating the Islamic Republic attacking the US bases in their country. In their own country, by the way. We have a short video of the people in Bahrain celebrating the moment a US base was attacked. Let me just show you this. There we go. Let's go.
Oh, shit. This is from...
All right, now. So the Israelis confirmed it was Israel, not the US, that hit Khamenei's compound, which, yeah, as we expected. Also, the Americans, CENTCOM, Central Command, says that damage to the US bases was minimal and has not impacted any operation. So the Americans are basically fine. Nobody's injured. Nobody's been killed. And their equipment's strong and stable, the installation. So God bless America. Told them, don't mess with the Americans. It's not worth it. Now...
There you go.
Dubai is in a bit of a mess because people are trying to escape. They're trying to flee, and don't know why they thought this is a good idea to get to the airports. The airspace is now closed anyway. Let me just show you what's happening in Dubai. People obviously are stranded at the airport.
This live stream is getting at 60,000 views and climbing right now. Thank you so much, everybody. Help me out and hit that like button. Let's get this out.
It's poor, guys. We're all stuck.
Wow.
Same situation in most of the airports right now in the region. Everybody is now stranded. The best you can do is just to leave the airports, because the IRGC don't really care. They're hitting everything. Right now, we saw what happened in Kuwait, the international airport in Kuwait, and that could be the fate of many others as well. Now, we are still waiting for the confirmation by any side when it comes to the well-being of Ali Khamenei, because he was supposed to be alive, but apparently he's not. His son may be dead. Israelis are saying they're both dead. Iraqis are saying his son is dead. The Islamic regime said he's alive, but we don't know where he is. And yeah, I think he's dead. Again, don't take my word for it. This is just a report that they are saying. Just a quick reminder.
I mean, if the Israelis say that he is dead, it's very, very likely that he is. Okay?
UC.tv in Emir, not yet, and use the coupon code.
Let's jump over here.
Okay.
We are getting word from Israel Channel 12, who are now reporting that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead.
Oh, wow.
That the Iranian Supreme Leader has been killed in the airstrikes launched by the United States and Israel today. A determined effort by President Donald Trump to topple the Iranian regime. And if true, the reports coming to us now from Israeli Channel 12 that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead, then they have indeed toppled the very head of that regime. And the consequences and ramifications of that can only be guessed at, because we have also been reporting just in the last few minutes that the Iranian Defense Minister, Amir Nasirazdeh, and also the Iranian, I should say, commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Commander Mohammed Pakpour, is also dead. These two top officials, one a military official, the other a civilian official in charge, of course, of the military, the Iranian Defense Minister, and the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, according to Reuters, quoting 3 Iranian sources, have been killed. Add to that these very significant reports now coming from Israeli Channel 12 television, reporting that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the Supreme Leader of Iran, has been killed in those strikes.
That is incredible breaking news that Mark White is bringing you there. I mean, he's 86 years old. He's been the real real figurehead for the regime in Iran and some of the atrocities they have committed against their own people over the last couple of months. The initial reports were that we didn't know where he was. He had maybe been smuggled out of the country. But do we know any more? Was he killed? Was he still in Iran, or we don't know?
Those reports, we don't have details as yet, but certainly when I was reporting first thing this morning on the strikes, we got sort of message from the Fars news agency in Iran, obviously the state-run news agency there, very quickly suggesting that the Ayatollah had been put on a plane out of Tehran, the Iranian capital. Effectively, they were suggesting to us, out of harm's way and away from any attempt by the United States or the Israelis to take him out, because we had confirmation from multiple sources during the morning that, as well as strikes that were targeting military targets and also targeting ministry buildings belonging to the regime in the likes of central Tehran, what you were also seeing were decapitation strikes aimed at the figureheads of the Iranian regime. And the very top of that pile is the Ayatollah. And as I say, Channel 12 in Israel reporting that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed.
OK, Mark White for now. Thank you very much. That's live breaking news for you. So let's talk to former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Mr. Bennett, thank you so much for joining us. Can we just have your reaction to that breaking news, please? That according to Israel Channel 12, the Ayatollah has been killed by an Israeli strike. Now, can I have your reaction, please?
Well, it's not yet been confirmed, but this guy is the tip of the head of the octopus of terror that's been running the terror operations in Iran, in the region, the Middle East, and the whole world. This guy's hands, Khamenei's hands, are soaked in blood of citizens and civilians from all across the world, from the United States, from Europe, from Israel. Tens of thousands of his own people that he's been butchering throughout the years, especially over the past few weeks. This guy is the epicenter of global terror, the head of the octopus of terror, and hopefully he's dead.
What does that mean for what happens next, though? I mean, does his death, if it is confirmed, create a vacuum that could be filled by something or someone worse?
Well, we hope that the Iranian people will seize this opportunity. President Trump and the state of Israel now have created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the amazing, wonderful, and courageous people of Iran that seek freedom. They're fed up with being repressed for the past 47 years by terror.
And let me ask you this again. Put a 1 in the chat if you think the Ayatollah is alive. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he is dead. 1 if he's alive, 2 if he's dead. Let's hear from you guys. And hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Tyrannical, genocidal regime. But now the ball is in their hands. We cannot do it from outside. They have to make the decision. Do they take to the streets and free themselves from the yoke of this dictator?
Mr. Bennett, with the IRG, as we know, are very heavily...
I'm Tony. I'm just a guy in a tie, just trying to bring you the truth.
Armed. I mean, if someone does step into...
You can make your own determinations from that.
To take over leadership, they've got the arms. The ordinary Iranian people, most of them just armed with their fists. Would Israel, do you think, be willing to go in, put boots on the ground to help them get democracy back into their country?
No one's talking about boots on the ground. What we are doing is decapitating the leadership of the IRGC, of the tyrannical police, Basij, of all the elements in this horrible terrorist regime that have been killing their own people. And we're giving the air support to do that. I think that the message of President Trump has been very clear. any IRGC person who lays down his weapons will be safe. Anyone who continues fighting, his head is next. So at the end of the day, it's up to the Iranian people, and we're praying for them, and we're working hard from above to give that support.
How much more support would Israel, do you think, be willing to give, though? Keep coming back to that point. The IRGC are very, very heavily armed. The ordinary people of Iran have nothing but their fists.
A lot of actions have been taken, covert actions to allow Iranian people to act, to fight back. As I said, we're not letting up. Our goal from Israel's perspective and from the world's perspective is to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon and reconstituting their ballistic missile program, which is a huge threat to the region. As you can see now, just today they targeted 8 different countries, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, you name it, Iraq, etc., etc. So we were very clear for quite a while that they have to let go of their nuclear ambitions or we'll have to act. They didn't listen, and now we're acting.
Okay, and how optimistic?
It's been 47 years. 47 years.
Optimistic are you that this will be the end of this regime?
I don't know. It's up to the Iranian people.
And do you think, well, how long do you think Israel will be willing to carry on supporting the Iranian people? I mean, President Trump has said that this is a matter of not just days, but it could go on for much longer. Will Israel be with America on that one?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. That's former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Mark, that astonishing breaking news now that the head of the snake, or the head of the octopus is evil, as Naftali just called it, has been, we think, killed.
Well, this, according to Israeli...
And the possibilities that would open up on many fronts is staggering. Let's get back
to the regime, the most religious, fanatical of the military, but they're also the best equipped, the best trained, and the best fighting force that they have. So they're there to carry out the Supreme Leader's wishes, and they're going to be the ones that we need to take care of quickest. They're also going to be the ones that are going to oppress the citizens. Any kind of popular uprising, the IRGC is going to make sure that they focus on internal security as well as any counterattacks to the U.S. So when we're looking at that relationship, you still have a strong, solid, fanatical core security force that's going to try to maintain regime power over the citizens and against any U.S. and Israeli strikes.
Do you think we are going to see these protests really start to pick up again? We know that back in January, there were many of them that basically took over cities like Tehran and other locations across the country. They died down. We know there was the internet blackout that appears to still be an issue there. Do you think we are going to see those start to pick up?
I actually think we might. Probably not today. People are going to have to figure out what really is going on with this first wave of strikes that we're looking at. But the fact that we saw students start to take to the streets again over this past week, I think what is happening is there's a security breakdown inside of Iran.
We have some breaking news here. A statement from the Iranian foreign minister here.
The situation on the ground is quite... I cannot say normal, but the life is going on. Everything is under control. I think Americans and Israelis failed to, access to hit their targets, and now everything is under control. And we almost in less than 2 hours we were able to start retaliation by attacking, American bases and some targets in Israel by our missiles. Almost all officials are safe and sound and alive. We may have lost 1 or 2 commanders, but that is not a big problem.
Wow.
We are actually managing it. We are handling the situation. And I was in contact with, my colleagues in the Persian Gulf, and I explained for them that, we have no intention to attack them, but we are actually attacking the American bases in the act of self-defense. We cannot just sit and watch they are attacking us and we don't, respond simply because their bases are in a friendly neighbor country. So I explained for them, and I hope that they understand this situation.
Wow, that is some situation. That is crazy. Of course, they're going to deny it,
overplay
right?
that and call it a collapse.
They're going to deny that he was killed. That's just their job.
That they could go out and begin these attacks. Maybe they felt support from the United States. And so as we see this develop, we'll probably see these protests start to grow, but they're going to come in a little bit hesitant at first to see exactly what the crackdown is going to be on them. And then we should see them grow. They're going to feel emboldened to go back out on the streets, especially if they feel that, when Trump said help is on the way, that help is truly on the way. It's not going to be easy. It's definitely going to be ugly as they come back out and security forces crack down. But I think there may be some momentum at this stage. It's just a little too early to tell, but we could see more protests. Absolutely.
And one thing I was going to ask kind of on that same note here, it's always possible due to the internet and other blackouts that are taking place that maybe the Iranian people aren't even aware of specifically what's happened there with the strikes, but also that President Trump's message is out there. They may not get that message, right?
No, I don't think they're going to be getting that message, in real time. I do think that there is kind of a network that's set up. We smuggled in some Starlink receivers to try to open back up that information flow. So there is an undercurrent that can move the information around, but definitely not as fast as it would have before the internet shutdown. Iran has taken chapters right out of China and Russia internet control. So they're going to try to clamp that down. But I do think that you're going to start to see word of mouth and some localized information start to spread around. Not as fast as, say, late December, early January, but it will start to gather. That's why I think the momentum that we're going to see is going to kind of build up over time as that information starts to flow. Plus, there's going to be a lot of question as these strikes widen out.
Wow. This is insane.
All right, and of course, it does look like we lost Mark right there, but we are going to work to get him back as we continue to follow all of the latest developments coming in. What you're looking at is actually the video that's coming in from Tehran a bit earlier, and we do have Mark back right now. Sorry about that, Mark. Looks like we lost our connection.
Sorry about that, Josh. I'm not exactly sure where we dropped off, but, talking about the word getting out from these protesters, it's going to be difficult with this internet shutdown. But as it starts to spread, word of mouth and the kind of undercurrent of information that can pass, I think we're going to see it spread, and that momentum will start to build over the next several days of speaking out against the regime. So it's going to take time. It won't be real time, but it will start to spread.
One thing I wanted to ask about as well is essentially what we're hearing right now is that these strikes on Iran could go on.
We're going to get back here. Let's take a look at Keir Starmer over in UK.
Earlier this morning, the United States and Israel struck targets in Iran. Iran has since launched indiscriminate strikes across the region. I know the British people and communities across our country will be deeply concerned about what this means for security and stability and for the fate of innocent people across the region, which for so many of us includes friends and family members. So whilst the situation is evolving very quickly, I want to set out our response. The United Kingdom played no role in these strikes, but we have long been clear the regime in Iran is utterly abhorrent. They have murdered thousands of their own people, brutally crushed dissent, and sought to destabilize the region.
Yeah, it's from like 20 minutes ago, video newsletter.
In the United Kingdom.
Thanks for checking in.
The Iranian regime poses a direct threat to dissidents and to the Jewish community. Over the last year alone, they have backed more than 20 potentially lethal attacks on UK soil. So it is clear they must never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. That remains the primary aim of the United Kingdom and our allies, including the US. I condemn Iran's attacks today on partners across the region, many of which are not parties to this conflict. We extend our support and solidarity to them as part of our commitments to the security of our allies in the Middle East. We have a range of defensive capabilities in the region, which we've recently strengthened.
You remember when his special prosecution team let Jimmy Savile go? You remember this guy? That's this guy. Okay? That's him. That's this fucking guy. All right?
Our forces are active, and British planes are in the sky today.
What's going on? Shut
as
up.
part of coordinated regional defensive operations to protect our people, our interests, and our allies, as Britain has done before, in line with international law. We've stepped up protections for British bases and personnel to their highest level. We are also reaching out to UK nationals in the region and doing everything we can to support them. I've been speaking with leaders today from the E3 and across the region. It is vital that we prevent further escalation and return to a diplomatic process. We want to see peace and security and the protection of civilian life. Iran can end this now.
Okay, Fortnite, with your 19 subscribers.
Okay. Give up their weapons programs.
Shh.
And
The
cease
adults are
the
talking.
appalling violence and repression against the Iranian people, who deserve the right to determine their own future.
Thank you.
In line with our long-standing position. This is the route to de-escalation and back to the negotiating table.
And back to the negotiating table. We're going to jump to this in a second. We have some other footage here.
Hours. That is what Jennifer Griffin, our friend over at Fox News, is reporting after speaking with several sources and officials there. What do you make of that?
Let's jump over here.
Different experts around the clock to get all of the latest information and get their take on everything. I want to bring in Enya Kravin with the Foundation for Defense of Democracy. She is a good friend of the show, joining us now live.
Strikes here. We have some live
thank you so
cam.
much for taking the time to be here with us.
Josh, it's always great to see you, though they're usually in difficult circumstances.
Most definitely. And I wanted to ask what the situation...
We're going to zip forward
They
a
want to
little
know
here.
where their loved ones are.
And this is some of the video from earlier on this morning. Obviously, you can't hear it, but there are sirens that are blaring. And that's been, as we mentioned, kind of the situation that's been taking place throughout the morning. Now, as far as the mission itself, I've asked this of a lot of people, but what do you make of the fact that the U.S. and Israel worked on this together? They made sure that this happened together in a joint military operation.
So that's no surprise to me, as since the beginning, since Donald Trump took office, all of these proactive military operations by Israel have taken on a tone, instead of being diplomatic and trying to de-escalate and wanting to stay out of it, it looks like they may also get into this war as well. So that is the new thing.
So we're going to go live to our Mideast cams right here. We have Haifa, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Doha. Right here, live cam. our live shots from these 4 cities. And we have some new strikes reported here. Let's get over this side.
But he has, of course, he's the only person who has the name recognition inside of Iran, and he has some supporters inside.
Baron, just stay with us. I just want to bring our viewers some updates that we're getting. One of them is a statement that we've heard from the mayor of New York on these military strikes, Zoran Mamdani, saying that today's military strikes on Iran, carried out by the US and Israel, mark what he calls a catastrophic escalation in an illegal war.
Oh, Mamdani.
Bombing cities, killing civilians,
Sit your
opening
ass
a
down,
new
please.
theatre of war. Americans do not want this. They do not want another war in pursuit of regime change. They want relief from the affordability crisis. They want peace. I am focused on making sure that every New Yorker is safe. I have been in contact with our police commissioner and emergency
like and subscribe, guys. Thank you so much.
Proactive steps, including increasing coordination across agencies and enhancing patrols of sensitive locations out of an abundance of caution. Additionally, I want to speak directly to Iranian New Yorkers. You are part of the fabric of this city. You are our neighbours, small business owners, students, artists, workers and community leaders. You will be safe here. That is Mayor Mamdani, who has just released that statement in New York, very much in opposition to what is going on at the moment. And live pictures as well coming to us
Talk about
from
ruining
Israel.
New York City.
We are expecting a statement shortly from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We will bring that to you just as soon as it happens. But at the moment, the podium is set up and we're waiting for him to appear. The other live pictures we have coming to us are from Baghdad as well in Iraq. Just talking about that with Barbara Platt-Usher a little bit earlier. Hard to tell how big the crowd is here, but we have heard from the Iraqis that they have denounced these strikes on Iran, warned the governments of Israel and the US to not involve Iraq in any kind of way. And these are protests in solidarity with Iran that are taking place in Baghdad at the moment. So we're just keeping across all these developments, and certainly when we see
a lot
Benjamin
of
Netanyahu
developing and
Israel,
breaking news coming
we
in
will
fast,
take
guys. I'm going to get you to all of it.
To that. The other news that we're getting as well out of Iran appears to be, Baron, and maybe you could help us understand this, some details from the Israeli military about the attacks on various installations there. Really difficult for us to verify, isn't it?
And let's get a check-in on one of the takes from Caroline Levitt, the press secretary.
The president and his national security team will continue to closely monitor the situation throughout the day. A live look now at the White House, because as I've also been sharing here, we anticipated we were going to get a press conference, but we are now learning we will not be hearing from the Trump administration here today on this. But we do hear from Caroline Levitt sharing that post, saying that President Trump continues to monitor this situation.
Okay, so no press conference?
Now, I also did want to share with you just a bit more information here, and I do want to head back to that live feed out of Tel Aviv as we continue to watch there. It took over an hour for President Trump to make an official announcement on the U.S. involvement in what he called was a major combat operation. In that 8-minute video on social media, which we will play for you here towards the end of the hour in case you did miss it, President Trump indicated the U.S. was striking for reasons far beyond the nuclear program, listing grievances stretching back to the beginning of the Islamic Republic following a revolution in 1979. All right, if you give me one moment here, it appears we're getting another post in from Fox News. All right, so this is coming in from Fox News. Kash Patel on the left-hand side of your screen. It says, breaking, FBI counterterrorism, counterintelligence teams.
This is from earlier this morning.
Are on elevated alert nationwide after Iran strikes. That's an FBI official speaking to Fox News' Peter Doocy. Once again, let's read that to you. FBI counterterrorism, counterintelligence teams are on elevated alert nationwide after those Iran strikes. So that is just coming in here from our Fox News team as we continue on our end to search social media to bring you all of these reactions here in real time. At 12:31 here on the East Coast, we are bringing this to you as we head back to this live look out of Tel Aviv. Now, President Trump told Iranians to take cover, but urged them to later rise up and topple the Islamic leadership. He had said that in that social media video. He said, when we are finished,
And this is from a few hours ago. It is, we are now getting some other footage from some air sirens here. This is probably very scary for people in the region.
Excuse my interruption. We want to confirm that these are live pictures right now as we've been going between pictures that just happened. This is a live look at Tel Aviv, Israel right now. You hear the sirens sounding. Our colleagues Richard Engel and Matt Bradley are there, as well as the Israelis. Our camera panning to the sky. The Israelis try to fend off incoming strikes from the Iranian regime right now in response to the U.S. and Israeli strikes earlier this morning. All of this happening in a rapid succession. The strikes by the U.S. and Israel happening within the last 6 to 7 hours. Now the sirens beginning to wane a bit. We have seen plumes of smoke throughout parts of that country over the course of this day. The Israelis not reporting any casualties that we are aware of yet. Here we have a better understanding of the circumstances because we have access, we have cameras there. In Iran, a different circumstance. There is a near total internet blackout. Only about 4% of that country with access to communication means to share what they are experiencing and seeing on the ground there. Again, as we look at these live pictures, though, we just want to keep you up to date. Our team's in a safe place, having covered conflict in that area before. Those sirens give you about 60 to 90 seconds, sometimes less, to get to a safe location, oftentimes in their effort to share pictures with audiences here at home. Our camera teams
So you get from 60 to 90 seconds when those sirens go off. That's unbelievable.
Will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. These attacks came a day after President Trump voiced frustration over lack of progress in negotiations to stop Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons. Israel said it had worked with the U.S. for months to plan these attacks as well. That's some new information we had learned here just a bit earlier. And before U.S.-Iran negotiations were underway in Geneva, the U.S. had assembled a vast fleet of fighter jets and warships in the region to try to pressure Iran into a deal over its nuclear program. And the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln and 3 guided missile destroyers arrived in January to bolster the number of warships in the region. The fleet has added more than 10,000 U.S. troops to the region. The fighting disrupted air travel in the region here. Israel and the United Arab Emirates, home to both the long-haul carriers Emirates and Etihad, had closed their airspace today as well. Qatar Airways Group has said it has temporarily canceled flights to and from Doha because Qatari airspace was also closed. Planes en route to Israel were rerouted to other airports as well. So we have been seeing that happening here as well amid these strikes here. What we're going to do is step away for another commercial break. If you are just joining us, I'm your host, Christy Matino. As I've been sharing here,
thank you so much. We're going to jump over here about Iran retaliating against multiple U.S. military facilities across the Middle East. Let's have a listen.
Right back to NBC's chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons, joining us from Dubai. And here it does seem like this regional war that you spoke about a short time ago is beginning to take shape.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure whether we would describe it at the level of war quite yet, but certainly what the Arab countries, the Gulf countries, America's allies and partners feared might come to pass is happening. I mean, there's no question of that. There are reports across this region in the Gulf of attacks on countries that, as I say, are allied to or partners of the United States. Just to give you a little bit of that reporting, I mean, I'm here in the UAE. I just spoke to an official about reports that there may have been some sort of explosion around Abu Dhabi, the governmental capital of the UAE. That official told me that they hadn't seen anything at this stage. So we're just trying to work to establish whether or not those reports are true. When it comes to Bahrain, as Matt and Richard and Courtney were mentioning, I've spoken to an official in Bahrain who tells me that there have been strikes there. That's, of course, the location, as we've been saying, of the US Fifth Fleet, close to Manama, the capital there. That's where, just for example, the importance of that base, that's where the USS Lincoln, which is now likely taking part in this operation in the Arabian Sea, that's where the USS Lincoln was just a few weeks ago, that aircraft carrier. So certainly something has gone down, if you like, in Bahrain. As Richard mentioned, Kuwait too, there were reports from there. Qatar is saying that it has intercepted 2 Iranian missiles over the country. So what we saw with Qatar, now just to put this in perspective, how significant this is, last year, around the time of the 12-day war in Operation Midnight Hammer, President Trump's operation targeting the Iranian nuclear program, it was only Qatar that faced Iranian missiles. And what did happen there, just to help people understand what they might be hearing and seeing, what did happen there was that air defences brought down shrapnel around Doha. It wasn't the actual, at least in some cases, it wasn't the actual missiles landing. It was the defences working, if you like. And all of these places have US air defences, Patriot air defences, because there are US bases in every one of these places. Al Udeid in Qatar, for example, I've been there. It's a sprawling base with a large number of US servicemen and women. It is the headquarters of CENTCOM, and it has been a target in the past, but for the Iranians, and it may be that this was what the Iranians are trying to do today as well. But as I say, on that occasion, they intercepted it with Patriots, and it looks like maybe they're saying that they managed to do that again. There's a base here in the UAE, Al Afra. I mean, in every one of these countries, there are US bases. And one of the questions, I think, now is going to be... It
seems the Iranians are taking their rocks and slingshots and trying to hit the US Fifth Fleet. That is a mistake.
Whether the Iranians are specifically targeting those...
Big mistake. Huge.
...bases, rather than other parts of these countries. And that, again, is something that we can't know. But every one of those bases are well defended. So
are very well defended. Wow.
During his first term. But another moment that I found very striking as well is that he essentially and effectively called for regime change in Iran. The president said in those remarks, quote, "When we are finished, take over your government." That was a message directly to the Iranian people. "It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations." That is a huge statement, particularly as really over the past year or so, ever since the president went into office for his second term, all of his top advisors were trying not to say that directly. And even though the president didn't say it directly, he came as close as he ever really has to acknowledging that one of the goals in this larger operation is to potentially see if the Iranian people can use this weakened state that the regime now finds itself in to kind of overthrow and push against the government there. So that was a remarkable thing as well. I also think it's worth pointing out, and you mentioned this, Victor, just how disappointed and frustrated the president seemed yesterday when talking about the negotiations that were going on just 2 days ago in Geneva between the president's top advisors.
We have some pretty impressive footage that we've gotten from CENTCOM over on X. Let's have a look and listen. Release footage this morning from Epic Fury operation launched against Iran. Check this out. we are going to get to more of that in just a second. Holy
Son-in-law
smoke. I'm
Jared
going to find
Kushner,
more of that.
with the Iranians and intermediaries in Switzerland, saying that they did not go far enough. And what we know that the United States wanted from Iran was to, one, be very clear that they had no goals and did not want to ever make a nuclear weapon, and also that they would commit to zero enrichment of uranium, things that the president argued they were not able to get to. And so that is what's led us to this moment. But of course, so many big questions, I think, that many Americans still have about what the future of this is going to look like. And that has been a big struggle for a lot of people I know in the White House and the top levels of the administration. There are a lot of Americans and a lot of Republicans, I should say, many members of the Republicans base who do not want the United States involved in another foreign war, and particularly a protracted, long engagement. And we've actually heard some of that pushback from members of Congress this morning making that point. And so that is going to be a crucial thing that the president and this White House
back to more
needs to do.
of some of this over here from CENTCOM. Let's go. Oops. Here are some of the aerial. Whoa. Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh, shit. Oh, bye-bye. Oh, shit. Some of the aerial whoa. Some of the aerial photography, some of the unclassified photography from CENTCOM. Why would you want to mess with this kind of hardware? I just don't understand it. Oof. Damn. This is from the Central Command, aka CENTCOM, over on X. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Do moving forward is to articulate exactly what their goal is as we move ahead in the days ahead with these operations.
Yeah, we'll expect that the recorded message that the president posted will not be the last we hear from him on justification for these strikes, considering that his promise to the American people was that there would be no new wars ahead of his 2024 re-election. Elena Treen for us there near the president's resort in Florida. We'll get back to you. Thank you. And we're getting reports of dozens of explosions across the Gulf, including Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Qatar, all home to major U.S. bases. A senior official in Qatar says that the country intercepted 2 Iranian missiles fired toward its territory. Let's bring in now CNN's
Pete Hegseth.
Or how hard it is to are undermined because people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
Secretary of War.
And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time and time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is, you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans. And it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years, and no other presidents had the courage to actually do. So with that, I want to hand it over to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. They've done technical analysis on this, not just on the strike, but also on our Patriot defenders, on Al Udeid. And And Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, and all of you. Thank you for being here. As a follow-up to my comments on Sunday's press conference, I wanted to give you a few updates this morning on something I'm honored to do as a chairman, and that's a chance to get to talk about some of our service members and the incredible things that they do on behalf of our nation. And I apologize ahead of time for the length and the detail. Today I'm going to brief you on a couple things. First, I'm going to talk about our air defenders at Al Udeid in Qatar and their actions on Monday. Then I'm going to walk you through a little bit about the academics that went into the attack against Fordo, the massive ordnance penetrator weapon, and we're going to show a video that highlights the effects that weapon has. Of course, nobody was down inside the target, so we don't have video from the target. First, on Monday. As the President has stated, on Monday morning we began to receive indications and warnings that Iran intended to attack U.S. bases in the region. That morning, building on the work that CENTCOM Commander Eric Kurilla had done, and on the orders of the President, at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar and around the region, we assumed a minimum force posture. Most folks had moved off the base to extend the security perimeter out away from what we assessed might be a target zone, except for a very few Army soldiers at Al Udeid. At that point, only 2 Patriot batteries remained on base, roughly 44 American soldiers responsible for defending the entire base, to include CENTCOM's forward headquarters in the Middle East, an entire air base, and all the U.S. forces there. The oldest soldier was a 28-year-old captain. The youngest was a 21-year-old private who'd been in the military for less than 2 years. So let's put ourselves out there for a second. Imagine you're that young first lieutenant, you're 25 or 26 years old, and you've been assigned as the tactical director inside the command and control element. You, at that age, are the sole person responsible to defend this base. Listening next to you is your early warning operator, whose job is to notify you of imminent attack. There's 5 people inside a vehicle and 5 people outside of a vehicle around these, a total of, as I said, 44. By the way, you've sat in the Middle East for years, deployed over and over again, extended multiple times, always being prepared, but unsure of when that particular day will come that you must execute your mission and not fail at doing it. In this case, these Patriot crews were deployed from Korea and Japan as part of our U.S. forces there to ensure that we had the most capable missiles in the CENTCOM area of responsibility. As the day continues, you start to hear more and more chatter in the information space about a pending attack. And as the sun starts to set in the west, you get orders from your higher headquarters to make sure that your missile batteries are pointed to the north. There are just a few other teammates. It's hot, you're getting nervous, and you expect an attack. Outside of those Patriot vehicles, your hot crew, which is 1 NCO and 4 additional soldiers, turns a key and relinquishes control of those missiles to that young lieutenant inside the vehicle, and you wait. You know that you're going to have approximately 2 minutes, 120 seconds to either succeed or fail. And then at approximately 12:30 p.m. on Monday, that's 7:30 p.m. in Qatar, as the sun sets in the west, Iran attacks. As the targets were detected, round after round of Patriot missiles are ejected from their canisters by an initial launch charge. Then the main solid rocket motor ignites. You can feel this in your body if you've ever been around a Patriot taking a shot. And round after round goes out and guides against those missiles coming inbound. We believe that this is the largest single Patriot engagement in U.S. military history. And we were joined in this engagement by the Qatari Patriot crews. I'm not going to tell you how many rounds were shot, but it was a bunch because of classified purposes. And we're aware that there's reports of something getting through. What we do know is there was a lot of metal flying around. Between attacking missiles being hit by Patriots, boosters from attacking missiles being hit by Patriots, the Patriots themselves flying around, and the debris from those Patriots hitting the ground, there was a lot of metal flying around. And yet our U.S. air defenders had only seconds to make complex decisions with strategic impact. These awesome humans, along with their Qatari brothers and sisters in arms, stood between a salvo of Iranian missiles and the safety of Al Udeid. They are the unsung heroes of the 21st century United States Army. And I know a lot of you have seen the videos online and the excitement as those Patriots departed their launchers and went up and guided. This really demonstrates the combat capability and capacity of our Army air defenders. Simply stated, they absolutely crushed it. If you'd flip this over, thanks. Let me next move to a walkthrough of the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapon and share a little bit about the planners who did this and their work on the weapon. First, let me set the stage for you. There's an organization in the U.S. called the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, DTRA. DTRA does a lot of things for our nation, but DTRA is the world's leading expert on deeply buried underground targets. In 2009, a Defense Threat Reduction Agency officer was brought into a vault at an undisclosed location and briefed on something going on in Iran. For security purposes, I'm not going to share his name. He was shown some photos and some highly classified intelligence of what looked like a major construction project in the mountains of Iran. He was tasked to study this facility, work with the intelligence community to understand it, and he was soon joined by an additional teammate. For more than 15 years, this officer and his teammate lived and breathed this single target, Fordo, a critical element of Iran's covert nuclear weapons program. He studied the geology. He watched the Iranians dig it out. He watched the construction, the weather, the discard material, the geology, the construction materials, where the materials came from. He looked at the vent shaft, the exhaust shaft, the electrical systems, the environmental control systems, every nook, every crater, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment going out. They literally dreamed about this target at night when they slept. They thought about it driving back and forth to work, and they knew from the very first days what this was for. You do not build a multi-layered underground bunker complex with centrifuges and other equipment in a mountain for any peaceful purpose. They weren't able to discuss this with their family, their wives, their kids, their friends, but they just kept grinding it out. And along the way, they realized we did not have a weapon that could adequately strike and kill this target. So they began a journey to work with industry and other tacticians to develop the GBU-57. They tested it over and over again, tried different options, tried more after that. They accomplished hundreds of test shots and dropped many full-scale weapons against extremely realistic targets for a single purpose: kill this target at the time and place of our nation's choosing. And then, on a day in June of 2025, more than 15 years after they started their life's work, the phone rang and the President of the United States ordered the B-2 force that you've supported to go strike and kill this target. Yesterday, I had the incredible honor and privilege of spending time with these two Defense Threat Reduction Agency officers who've given so much. One of them said, quote, "I can't even get my head around this. My heart is so filled with the pride of being a part of this team. I am so honored to be a part of this." To you both, thank you, and thank you to your families. Operation Midnight Hammer was the culmination of those 15 years of incredible work. The air crews, the tanker crews, the weapons crews that built the weapons, the load crews that loaded it. Before I run through this video today, I want to talk a little bit about weaponeering and what goes into an attack. Weaponeering is the science of evaluating a target. I mentioned all of those factors before that these two DTRA officers had thought about. Ultimately, weaponeering is determining the right weapon and fuse combination to achieve the desired effects and maximum destruction against a target. In the case of Fordo, the DTRA team understood with a high degree of confidence the elements of the target required to kill its functions, and the weapons were designed, planned, and delivered to ensure that they achieve the effects in the mission space. By the way, in the beginning of its development, we had so many PhDs working on the MOP program, doing modeling and simulation, that we were quietly and in a secret way the biggest users of supercomputer hours within the United States of America. So let me talk about the graphic a little bit. And the GBU-57, which all of you I know is a 30,000 pound weapon dropped only by the B-2. It's comprised of steel, explosive, and a fuse, programmed bespokely each weapon to achieve a particular effect inside the target. Each weapon had a unique desired impact angle, arrival, final heading, and a fuse setting. The fuse is effectively what tells the bomb when to function. A longer delay in a fuse, the deeper the weapon will penetrate and drive into the target. So on Fordo, in June of 2008, you can see these three holes. Depicted here is the main exhaust shaft with two additional ventilation shafts on either side. The United States decided to strike these two ventilation shafts, seen here on the main graphic, as the primary point of entry into the mission space. In the days preceding the attack against Fordo, the Iranians attempted to cover the shafts with concrete to try to prevent an attack. I won't share the specific dimensions of the concrete cap, but you should know that we know what the dimensions of those concrete caps were. The planners had to account for this. They accounted for everything. The cap was forcibly removed by the first weapon, and the main shaft was uncovered. Weapons 2, 3, 4, 5 were tasked to enter the main shaft, move down into the complex at greater than 1,000 feet per second, and explode in the mission space. Weapon number 6 was designed on each side, so there were 6 on each side. Weapons number 6 was designed as a flex weapon to allow us to cover if one of the preceding jets or one of the preceding weapons did not work. The video I'm about to show you is a culmination of over 15 years of development and testing. As I said, hundreds of test shots on various models. This is one weapon. So if you take a view of this as 5 additionals, you'll get a sense of what this looks like. Hopefully you can see it and there's not too much reflection. Tom runs our videos out there. We'll run it at full speed so you can see it and then go back through it. Go ahead, Tom. Keep it going for a minute. You'll see inside the mission space. Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that.
Wow.
All 6 weapons at each vent at Fordo went exactly where they were intended to go.
Wow.
The bomb has 3 effects that causes damage: blast, fragmentation, and overpressure. In this case, the primary kill mechanism in the mission space was a mix of overpressure and blast, ripping through the open tunnels and destroying critical hardware. The majority of the damage we assessed based on our extensive modeling was a blast layer combined with the impulse extending from the shock. Imagine what this looks like 6 times over. A point that I want to make here: the Joint Force does not do BDA. By design, we don't grade our own homework. The intelligence community does. But here's what we know following the attacks and the strikes on Fordo. First, that the weapons were built, tested, and loaded properly. 2, the weapons were released on speed and on parameters. 3, the weapons all guided to their intended targets and to their intended aim points. 4, the weapons functioned as designed, meaning they exploded. And we know this through other means, intelligence means that we have, that were visibly, we were visibly able to see them. And we know that the trailing jets saw the and the pilots stated, quote, "This was the brightest explosion that I've ever seen. It literally looked like daylight."
Wow.
Let me now turn to the bomber crews themselves, give you a few details about them. The crews that attacked Fordo were from the active duty Air Force and the Missouri Air National Guard. The crews ranked from captain to colonel.
Hit that like button for me, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already.
Headquartered at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. I will state for the record that there is no beach volleyball or football at the Air Force Weapons School. There were male and female aviators on this mission. And a crew member told me when I talked to them on video the other day that this felt like the Super Bowl, the thousands of scientists, airmen, and maintainers all coming together. One last story about people. When the crews went to work on Friday, they kissed their loved ones goodbye, not knowing when or if they'd be home.
Right.
Late on Saturday night, their families became aware of what was happening. And on Sunday, when those jets returned from Whiteman, their families were there. Flags flying and tears flowing. I have chills literally talking about this. The jets rejoined into a formation of 4 airplanes followed by a formation of 3 and came up overhead Whiteman, proudly in the traffic pattern, pitching out to land right over the base and landing to the incredible cheers of their families who sacrifice and serve right alongside their family members. Like I said, there were a lot of flags and a lot of tears. One commander told me this is a moment in the lives of our families that they will never forget. That, my friends, is what America's Joint Force does. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we test, we evaluate every single day. And when the call comes to deliver, we do so. I could not be more proud standing up here today of our Joint Force. I'm filled with gratitude that I get to tell their story. And as we stand here right now, our forces remain on a high state of readiness in the region, prepared to defend themselves. And one last thing, our adversaries around the world should know that there are other DTRA team members out there studying targets for the same amount of time, and will continue to do so. Thank you very much. I apologize for the length. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
that was great.
Just thank you, by the way, for that extensive work, the lay down.
Thanks,
I mean,
Chief.
even, do you have that laser pointer? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, squaring me away as always. I mean, even in just the public reporting, if you see the post-strike shaft of the 3 holes, the vast majority, and fairly so, the vast majority of speculation has been those are the 3 strike points. When in actuality, what you realize is these are the vents, these are the caps. The first munition took the cap off, and the other 5 went down the center hole. Which, if you're planning the target, you would want it to be the direct one going to the bottom.
Motto.
These are the types of things that go into the planning for a strike that the Pentagon would not expect the press corps, the American people, to initially understand. So laying this information out is helpful. But it's also why we ask for a beat, for a moment, for a day, or two, the opportunity to tell that story, because as the chairman said, these men and women that did this mission, they just want to do their job. They're not expecting their story to be told. They're not expecting the glory. They are grateful for the flags and the hugs of family. That's why they do the job. But they also know they were a part of something historic. We know how historic it was. The chairman does. I know. Our staffs know. And so that's why we are, and the president of the United States knows. And that's why it's almost personal when we see the way in which leaks are used to try to disparage the outcome or muddy the waters about the impact of what happened without being responsible with information and allowing the professionals to assess and provide that information just like the chairman did. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that information. Sure. And we welcome a few additional questions. Yes, sir.
General, on Sunday you said final battle damage will take some time. And you also said, I think BDA is still pending, and it would be way too early for me to comment on what may or may not still be there at the nuclear facility. So that was just over 3 days ago. So what has changed? Would you use the term obliterated as well?
Sure, like I said, we don't do BDA. I'll refer that to the intelligence community. And
you're talking with them. I mean, what changed in the past 3 days that make you so, you know?
Sir, I think I
think I explained what changed. There was a great deal of irresponsible reporting based on leaks, preliminary information in low confidence. Again, when someone leaks something, they do it with an agenda. And when you leak a portion of an intelligence assessment, but just a little portion, just the little portion that makes it seem like maybe the strike wasn't effective, then you start a news cycle, whether it's the Washington Post or Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, you start a news cycle that starts to call into question the efficacy. No, that's why. So you bring the chairman here, who's not involved in politics. He doesn't do politics. That's my lane to understand and translate and talk about those types of things.
He definitely knows the game.
I can use the word obliterated.
Sure.
He could use defeat, destroyed, assess, all of those things. But ultimately, we're here to clarify what these weapons are capable of, which anyone with
an experienced
two eyes,
media
some
figure.
ears, and a brain can recognize that kind of firepower with that specificity at that location and others is going to have a devastating effect. So we all recognize there will be days and weeks ahead. That's why yesterday I said, if you want to know what's going on at Fort O, you better go there and get a big shovel, because no one's under there right now. No one's under there able to assess, and everyone's using reflections of what they see. And that's why the Israelis, the Iranians, the IAEA, the UN, to a man and to a woman who recognize the capability of this weapon system, are acknowledging how destructive it's been. So that's what's changed.
Just 3 or 4 days later, what changed?
See, this is a point. This is how difficult it is to actually manage. You just watched a video of what this weapon is capable of. That's where we find our confidence, is in the skill of men and women and the capability of the systems they employed, and the recognition so far in the reflections that it was a highly successful mission.
Sure, I think you could, I'd say go out, the IC should be able to help you answer that question. They look at a variety, as the Secretary has alluded to, we look at a variety of things. I don't do that, they do. All different sources of intel, which I'd refer you to them to get clarity on the end state.
So again, I go back to the IC, whether it's Director Radcliffe or ODNI Gabbard. I read the statements at the beginning. They're the ones aggregating the intelligence, and they're saying nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over a number of years. Facilities were destroyed. What do we got right here?
Sir, you cited a body of credible intelligence to suggest the damage at Fort O and other places. What is that referring to, and when can we see it?
I was reading from the CIA director's statement, which came out last night. CIA, again, they do the BDA, they do the assessment. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates, it also goes on to say, new intelligence from historically reliable and accurate sources and methods. Now, you can imagine the CIA director is going to be very careful about how he articulates things of that sensitivity. Classified, secret, top secret, compartmentalized. He's going to know things that you're not going to know, that the press isn't going to know. And he's reflecting that the sources he's seeing are highly credible. They've given credible intelligence. They or those processes have given credible intelligence in the past. And that's what he's basing it on.
Don't you think we need to see that?
Do you have a top secret clearance, sir?
Eventually,
okay.
The American public wants to see it.
Yes.
Yeah, you shut that shit down quick.
wanted to ask briefly just...
No, not you. Checkered shirt.
Oh, so Mike Glenn with the Washington Times.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir. Anybody who's ever read a battalion S2 report after a fight knows that it's usually, the initial report is usually wrong, sometimes grossly so. Has what happened in this incident caused you all to sort of rethink the intelligence process or the dissemination, or do you think it's just a matter, I mean, if the process itself doesn't require any more adjustment?
Well, I can tell you what the chairman told me in the Situation Room and reminded us all, which is alongside what you just said, sir, is that the first reports are almost always wrong. They're almost always incomplete, right? Anything, whether it's a squad level operation or a strategic level operation, the initial reflections you get are coming at you at a high rate of speed from a lot of different sources. So your job is to step back and assess them. And that's why we're urging caution about premising entire stories on biased leaks to biased publications trying to make something look bad. How about we take a beat, recognize first the success of our warriors, hold them up, tell their stories, celebrate that, wave an American flag, be proud of what we accomplished. And in the meantime, I can assure you, the chairman and his staff, the intelligence community, our staff and others are doing all the assessments necessary to make sure that mission was indeed successful. Yes, right there.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Iran has recognized that their nuclear program was indeed severely damaged, but they also said that the U.S. strikes only strengthened their ability and their determination to complete their nuclear program. How do you respond to that, sir? Is that a provocation from Iran?
Well, I would say Iran's going to have to say a lot of things right now in order to bolster their image, especially internally. You know, in the media, there's a lot of things they'll say for domestic consumption. But we're watching very closely what they do. Again, that's the intel community. Our job as the chairman, the chairman laid it out so beautifully. Our job is to be prepared. And how proud are you? How proud am I? I didn't know the full story of those men and women 15 years ago who've been pointing at that target. That makes me proud to be an American. That's an awesome story. I hope we can tell more aspects of that in an unclassified way in the future. That's a great thing to know. Our job is to be prepared when the commander-in-chief calls those assessments. So, of course, our IC, the Intelligence Committee, will keep watching what Iran assessments. So, of course, our IC, the Intelligence Committee, will keep watching what Iran does and pay attention to that. But the president has created the contours, the opportunity for a deal, for peace, in something that the world said was intractable, that wasn't possible. And we got that peace, that ceasefire, that option, because of strength, because of his willingness to use American military might that no one else on the planet can do, with the kind of planners and operators that the chairman just laid out. Yes, sir. Right there. Yep.
Me, sir? Just a quick question. There's public imagery available saying that highly enriched uranium was moved out of Fordo before the strikes. Is that accurate? Have you seen that? And Mr. Chairman, a question for you. Have you been pressured to change your assessment or give a more rosy intelligence assessment to us by any political factors, whether it's the president or the secretary? And if you were, would you do that?
Yeah, well, that one's easy. No. No, I have not, and no, I would not. My job as the chairman is to offer a range of options to the president and the National Command Authority to deliver the risks associated with each of those, and then take the orders of the National Command Authority and go execute them. I've never been pressured by the president or the secretary to do anything other than tell them exactly what I'm thinking, and that's exactly what I've done.
There's nothing that I've seen that suggests that we didn't hit exactly what we wanted to hit in those locations.
That's not the question, though. It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance?
Oh, boy.
Are you
back from NATO? 2 days apart from my battle buddy, so it's good to see him this morning. Good to see you, Mr. Chairman.
You too, sir.
Where there was a historic outcome. I want to start with that real quick. I think there's so much news, so many things happening that oftentimes big, momentous moments get missed. What President Trump accomplished in NATO yesterday was game-changing and historic. A shift in burden sharing to European responsibility in NATO that most would have said was impossible at the beginning of his term. But he said NATO needs to pay up. They started in the first term, and here in his second term, we've accelerated that. 32 NATO countries committed to spending 5% of their GDP on defense, on actually investing in the NATO alliance. So I hope with all the ink spilled, all of your outlets find the time to properly recognize this historic change in continental security that other presidents tried to do, other presidents talked about. President Trump accomplished it. It's a huge deal. You see, we're here this morning because in hunting for scandals all the time, in trying to find wedges and spin stories, this press corps and the press corps miss historic moments. You miss historic moments like 5% at NATO, which when you hear, I was in the closed door briefing. I wish there could have been cameras in there. When you heard the prime ministers and presidents of other countries, to a man and to a woman, looking at President Trump and saying, this never could have happened. Never would have happened. It seemed impossible 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 8 years ago. But here we are because of your leadership. If you ask them the question, I bet they'd say the same thing. But searching for scandals, you miss historic moments, like recruiting at the Pentagon. Historic levels in the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. Yeah, maybe there'll be a little mention here or there, but because it was under President Trump's leadership, because Americans are responding to him as commander-in-chief, the press corps doesn't want to write about it. Or bring us to the topic of the moment, the highly successful strikes in Iran. Let me read the bottom line here. President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history, and it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen.
I was just checking on that. I don't know. I don't know why that happened.
Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities. I want to read some of the assessments that have been provided, because whether it's fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment from DIA. I'm looking at it right now. Again, it was preliminary, a day and a half after the actual strike, when it admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report. It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report,
I don't know.
Multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin. If you're wrong, everything else is wrong. And yet, and still, this report acknowledges it's likely severe damage. Again, this is preliminary, but leaked because someone had an agenda to try to muddy the waters and make it look like this historic strike wasn't successful. I'm going to get to the chairman in a moment because he's going to lay out the particulars for you based on his professional military experience. But here's what other folks are saying. The DIA that put that report out says this is a preliminary low confidence report and will continue to be refined as additional intelligence becomes available. How about the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission? The devastating U.S. strikes on Fordow destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. Have any of these quotes made their way into the New York Times or the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN?
Shots
Any of
fired.
these quotes? How about this one? This is a new one from the UN, the United Nations. No friend of the United States, or certainly Israel often. Here's the head of the UN Atomic Energy Agency this morning, Rafael Grossi. U.S. and Israeli strikes caused enormous damage to Iran's nuclear sites. Don't take my word for it. How about the IDF's chief of staff? I can say here that the assessment is that we significantly damaged the nuclear program, setting it back by years. I repeat, years. The Iranian foreign minister, the spokesman, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure. I'm sure that's an understatement. John Radcliffe, the director of the CIA, putting out a statement just last night, CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear
Make sure
program
you
has
like
been
and
severely
subscribe to the
damaged by
channel. Hit
recent
that like
targeted
button,
strikes.
subscribe to the channel. Thank
This
you very much,
includes new
guys.
intelligence
Welcome.
from a historically reliable, very different than preliminary assessment with low confidence. He's saying historically reliable and accurate source and method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced information to keep appropriate decision makers fully informed. How about DNI Tulsi Gabbard yesterday? She writes, and I quote, "New intelligence confirms what POTUS has stated numerous times. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed." Institute for Science and International Security President David Albright, overall, Israel and U.S. attacks have effectively destroyed Iran's centrifuge enrichment program. Time and time again, I can go down the list. Those that understand, those that see, those that do proper assessments recognize that what the United States military did was historic. Before I pass it to the chairman, because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is, you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack. We should celebrate it as Americans, and it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years, and no other presidents had the courage to actually do. So with that, I want to hand it over to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. They've done technical analysis on this, not just on the strike, but also on our Patriot defenders, on Al Udeid. And Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, and all of you. Thank you for being here. As a follow-up to my comments on Sunday's press conference, I wanted to give you a few updates this morning on something I'm honored to do as a chairman, and that's a chance to get to talk about some of our service members.
All right, so apparently they have looped it. They looped it. That's weird that they looped it right out of that lady's question. Let's watch some footage from Dubai right now. We're seeing some action happening in Dubai. I'm Morgan Freeman. As you can see, this is footage in Dubai. And it is certainly going down. Wow. Uh-oh. There are a lot of video submissions coming from all over the world during this breaking story, so you're going to see a couple clips here and there that might repeat themselves. Sorry. I don't make the news, man. I'm just showing it to you. And this is new. I haven't seen some of these yet, so. But yeah, a lot of the times the press pools they get like a couple things and they all run them. They all show the same thing. We've seen the Trump statement a couple times. It just happens. Morgan Freeman. Okay. Wow, that is a lot going on in the world right there, man. This is a lot happening. This is a lot happening. So we have, as it stands, the reported death of Ayatollah Khamenei, right? That would be happening at the same time as some of these airstrikes, some more targeted things. We saw Pete Hegseth. And it's not just about the missiles and the maps. It's about what happens when a tightly controlled system suddenly loses its central figure in the middle of a crisis. So do the people around him choose escalation to prove they're in charge? Or do they caution to keep the whole structure from collapsing? Do they take those cautions? And do outside powers step in as firefighters or arsonists? So I'm going to be watching every major update, succession signals, official confirmations, new strikes, retaliations, and moves by global players. And I will be back live the second the trajectory of this story changes. So if you want to stay ahead of this, subscribe to the channel, like everybody, leave a comment in the comment section below. I want to thank my mods and everybody for being here. Everybody for being here with Morgan Freeman. And I'm seeing no confirmation right now, but when this story comes back up, we will take the time to put in the work to bring it to you. You give me a couple hours, I'm going to bring you the world, baby. Morgan Freeman. This live stream has over 80,000 views, and with all of the big YouTube names covering this, I am very grateful to have my piece of the pie. But we work hard here. We're working hard for you. We would love to see you back here again. Thank you so much for joining me. It doesn't matter to me what your opinions or beliefs are. I want you to be here, and I want to hear your voice on the Zero Dark Tony channel. Remember, truth is a moving target. But we're going to get it. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves today, guys. Seriously. All right? Thank you.